Hi, everybody. This is the football hype, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion, your host, and welcome back to the football. I hope you like this video. This is a fun video, and you know why? Because this is a video about a crazy house known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha. They're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny farm.
Yes, at the funny farm, crazy people once in a while have to eat crow. And Brandon Tierney and Sal the Spaz Licata are having to eat crow this week. And I have not seen any apology given to the legend Carl Banks over these two assholes hanging up on him during their program last week. Now, he's not made an appearance on their program this week yet. But Carl Banks makes appearances on the midday show of Brandon Tierney and Sal the Spaz Licata. But he was doing that for many years. And last week, he was doing it when Joe Beningo, yo, bro, that fake insincere crap, and Evan Roberts. And, of course, he's had that show for many years. So he's predated these two new clowns here on the fan. And last week, they talked about Kayvon Thibodeaux, who was one of the Giants' big players on defense. He was drafted 5th overall in the 2022 draft. And for the last few weeks, Tierney and the Spaz had been basically saying that Kayvon is a bust. And that they've been saying very strange things about him, saying that he has a weird body. His body language is weird. He's not had any kind of impact on any of the games, over the last 2 years. Now, last year he played pretty good as a rookie. This year it's been building. His game has been building, and the last few weeks, the numbers told you certain things about what he was doing on the field that these two guys did not notice. Now, Carl Banks was on their program last week. They were debating. Sal and Tierney were saying that their opinion was that Thibodeaux isn't good. He's a bust. It's a bad draft pick. Carl Banks said that that's not true, that the numbers that he is trying to give them during the program and the things that he is seeing through game film and just the analytics, because football does analytics like baseball does, he said that the numbers are proving that his game is getting better and he's having an impact on the field. So this got very heated. One of the things Carl Banks has said during this interview, that these two guys in particular, and really, quite frankly, the whole radio station harps on the negative when it comes to a player. They will hammer the player into the ground or a team into the ground if it provides a narrative. One of the narratives with the Giants, with Kayvon in particular, is that he's a bust. And you can't provide numbers to them that can tell them otherwise. Now, this got so heated that Spaz and Carl Banks, and Carl Banks is probably the most congenial guy on the air. He's great on the radio as a color analyst. He's done so many things. He was a great Giant. He was part of 2 Super Bowl winning teams in '86 and '91. He's one of the real true gentlemen that really is associated with the Giants, associated with New York, and associated with football. He's just a great guy. Anyone that you even watch him on TV, he just exudes pleasantness and just a nice guy. Well, he's trying to talk over Spaz, and Spaz said, "No, you got to go." They hung him up. They hung up on him. Now, when he called their program, that's a paid spot. So he is a coworker. So he's not just somebody, some random celebrity, some random athlete, some random former athlete calling into the program. This was a paid gig, paid show. This is his time to talk and give his take on the Giants and on the NFL in general. Well, they hung up on. Well, if you didn't know, this past week, the Giants played the New York Jets, and it's just a horrible game. It was probably the worst game of the season. It was probably one of the worst football games that we've seen around here in many, many years. Well, Kayvon had a unbelievable monster game. Had a monster game. Well, here's from Odyssey.com. Tierney and the Spaz had to eat crow. BT and Sal praised Kayvon Thibodeaux's performance against the Jets. Quote, I was dead wrong. Oh, really, Spaz? Oh, really, Tierney? BT and Spaz's lack of belief in Kayvon Thibodeaux's front and center heading into Sunday's Jets-Giants game, where the former top 5 pick logged three sacks, including one on fourth down in the fourth quarter that would have sealed the victory had Big Blue not collapsed at the end of regulation. Now, I was listening to this game, the Giants broadcast, because they broadcast on WFAN. I was listening to the game on the way home, and they were basically making fun of them. Howard Cross, who's another Giant, was a great Giant, a great tight end for the Giants, and Carl Banks were making fun of Spaz and Tierney, especially during that last sack. So BT and Spaz made sure to give props to Thibodeaux during Monday's show. While Spaz admitted that Laban Thibodeaux bust midway through his second NFL season was premature. You think so, Spaz? When will Spaz apologize for the nonsense that he called Pete Alonso toxic? Quote, Kayvon Thibodeaux finally had the game we were waiting to see, Spaz said. I'll admit, I was dead wrong calling him bust. I was dead wrong. It was premature. You really, Spaz? Really? Really? Quote, I wanted to feel the impact. It's all about feelings with these guys. It's very, very feminine. Yesterday, we saw the impact. I didn't need to break down all 22 to feel the impact Kayvon had. That is what I was expecting from a top pick that's supposed to be an edge rusher. He chewed up and spit out Mekhi Becton. That's exactly what we wanted to see. It took a year and 8 weeks. But I hadn't seen that type of impact from Thibodeaux ever at the NFL level. Both BT and Spaz stood by the critiques they had on Thibodeaux during their heated conversation with Carl. Yeah, but they hung up on him. They stood by. Yeah, but Carl, you're out of here. We stand by, you're gone. Last week, as they had not seen the difference-making play from Thibodeaux up until that point. On Sunday, they saw it and were more than willing to acknowledge it afterwards. We weren't wrong, BT. Stupid. We weren't wrong, PT said. We might have undersold a little bit, but that is the first time he has looked like that. That play was game record. He was a beast. Now, I don't know, because I didn't listen to the program, just reading this. Did the Spaz and BT say, you know what? Carl was right. Carl was right about the numbers that he was trying to explain to him. Did they mention that? No, they did not. They did not mention at all what the deal was after this discussion that they had. There's really this screaming match that they had with Carl Banks. And Carl didn't scream. Spaz screamed, and BT complained that I don't want to be told what to do on my show. But this is what you get from the crazy house known as WFAN. They have a narrative, and this narrative isn't going to change. If Thibodeaux doesn't have a big game over the next 3 weeks, they'll attack him again. I'm saying he's a terrible player. He had that one game against the Jets. This is going to be a long-term thing. If Thibodeaux has consistent games every single week, that'll shut them up. But if he's inconsistent, they're going to hammer him and hammer him and hammer him. They'd be like, what happened to the guy that went up against the Jets? Oh, he's not going up against a bad offensive line like the Giants had. That's what they'll say. This is their narrative. For this player, this is the narrative, that he's a bust. And BT told you we weren't wrong, so they're not letting go of this. Just he shut them up for one game. Now BT put out a tweet during the week. He said we don't want to. What did he say? We don't want to belittle any player or something like that. Something or other like that. It's like we don't like to run down anybody. Bullshit. You run everybody down when you can. I will say this. Since they put Spaz and Tierney together, Tierney has put himself into a weird position, because when he was working with Tiki Barber for the last few years, you didn't hear this sort of disconnect between the audience and the show. This show has a bad reputation, and it all comes from Spaz. Spaz is so insecure that he has to do this nonsense of going after people, belittling them, making up stories, and you didn't see this with Tiki Barber and Tierney were together. This wasn't a show that you said to yourself, these guys aren't like, this isn't like a show that it didn't have a bad reputation. This show has a bad reputation. I would also mention that my critiques of Sal Licata did not go unnoticed by Spaz, because I've had no interaction with him under any circumstance other than to talk about him on this channel and on the Baseball Hut too. And he blocks your host on Twitter X or whatever, X Twitter. It doesn't matter what you call it at this point. And because of my critiques of him as a lousy Met fan, and really lying about Pete Alonso, and now going after Kayvon Thibodeaux and going after Carl Banks, it's what you don't hang up on Carl Banks. You don't show him disrespect. He was a great player, and he's a great guy. You don't show him disrespect. Sal did that, and I will not forget that. I love the Giants. I love Carl Banks. I love Lawrence Taylor, though he has problems. Phil Simms, great. Phil McConkey, Mark Bavaro. I go down the line, Otis Anderson, Rodney Hampton. I go down the line with all these guys that I just look up to. Carl Banks is one of these players you look up to. And the fact that Spaz Licata hung up on him, I'm not forgetting that. And you shouldn't either. This is disrespectful. You don't do that. There's certain players you hang up the phone on. There's certain people you hang up on. It's not Carl Banks. Well, you let me know what you think about this video. Of course, please subscribe to Football Hut, and I'll see you later.